Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder once again with another Reddit story for you. This one from Best of Redditor Updates. Hooray. Title of this one is My Best Friend is Cheating on His Wife. Originally posted June 20th, 2024. I don't know if this is the right thread to post, but I need help. My best friend, 33 male, and I, 32 male, have been inseparable since we were 5. We went to school together, did most of life's major milestones together, and I consider him my brother in all but blood. When his grandmother passed while we were still in high school, she even had me in her will, leaving me a small trust to use for college. For as long as I can remember, his family has been mine and vice versa. We both got married in 2017. Our wives are very close and have been since we were dating. While I'm not as close with her as my wife, I see his wife like my sister and I care about her the same way. 3 days ago, I was riding in my best friend's car when he asked me to put on some music. I picked up his phone and put in his code. We've both known each other's passcodes for years. And while I was navigating Spotify, a text came through from a pizza place that said, "Coming over tonight?" I sat there stunned for a few seconds before turning and asking him who the fuck is pizza place. And he immediately started yelling at me for going through his messages before I told him what happened. He pulled over into a parking lot and spent a few minutes yelling at each other until he finally came clean. He's been hooking up with a coworker for about a month. He says that he still loves his wife and has no intentions of leaving her. He begged me to not tell his wife and that he's going to find a way to break it off with this other woman. But he says he's in too deep to just ghost her and he doesn't know how to cut it off yet. He swears it will never happen again and that this mistake doesn't warrant ruining his and his wife's marriage. After some back and forth, I reluctantly agreed to stay quiet. But later that day, I remembered something that might change my mind. He and his wife started the process of IVF a few months ago. I haven't pressed for details, but she has used my wife's support through the process, and I know it's been very taxing on her. Ultimately, my dilemma is this. Is it right for me to keep this a secret, knowing that they are trying to bring a child into the world, and knowing that child could be born into a broken home if his wife finds out after she gets pregnant? I'm torn between the friend that I love like my brother and what I feel like would be the right thing to do. I know I'm not the one who was wronged here, but I feel so betrayed and angry. I feel like he's done something that's going to tear apart the small family the 4 of us have built together and the bigger one we planned on having one day. I know he's not a bad person, and up to this point, I'm pretty sure he has been a model husband. I'm so unsure what to do, and I need help. Edit, thank you for all your replies and advice. I talked to my wife last night, and she asked a friend's wife to come over tomorrow. I talked to my wife last night and she asked a friend's wife to come over tomorrow night to talk. I'll update with more details afterwards. She asked, he doesn't say I asked my friend's wife. He didn't say, he said a friend's wife, not my friend's wife. I don't know if it's the same one. I think she's pulling in a third-party consultant here. Somebody outside of their group is what it sounds like, at least. There is an update. Before we get into that, what would you do? Telling her is the obvious right thing to do if you had a bestie for life. And you'd been like brothers or sisters to this point, and they begged you not to, would you still? Telling her is the right thing to do, would you still do it with this lifelong bestie begging you not to? So a lot of people get the stay out of it mentality, let them deal with their own shit mentality. I think the majority of people are to say, tell her. IVF changes the situation for sure. Yeah, I mean, it always gets more complicated with kids. But OP's greatest concern here being that a child is coming into a broken home. Child could definitely be loved just as much, if not more. So, I mean, I don't view that as big of a concern. I think OP or his friend's wife choosing to move forward with the process, not knowing what she knows, is important. I'm not worried about the child's happiness. I'm worried about the wife not knowing and still choosing to move forward. And would she choose differently if she knew? We can't know that. And for the things that you really want, what you say is that you still love your wife and have no intentions of leaving her. Well, if you really love her, you're going to have to tell her and work through it. Update June 22nd, 2024. First off, thank you everyone for your advice. I think I was still kind of in a mode of shock and panic, and reading your comments helped me sober up. I appreciate you all. I'd also like to quickly address those of you who suggested burying it because I have no ties to this woman, or he's your friend, not her, or bros before hoes. This isn't some random girl you just started hanging out with. They've been married for 7 years and were dating 2 before that. She's a big part of our lives for nearly a decade and is my friend in her own right, even if she doesn't share the same history that me and her husband do. So the idea of I have no ties to her or owe her nothing is just wrong. The evening after posting this, I told my wife, "You all were right that I should have kept it from her in the first place." She listened to what happened and then sat silent for a minute. I was afraid she was going to be mad at me for not telling her like a lot of you said, but no. She said that a part of her was relieved because she could tell that something had been severely bothering me these past couple of days, but aside from offering the occasional "are you okay?" she still decided that I would tell her when I was ready to share. Though, when I told her about the thread, she was slightly annoyed and thought it was silly for me to have brought my problem to a bunch of strangers on the internet before I brought it to her. I apologize for not telling her sooner and for waiting to react despite knowing in my heart what I needed to do. My wonderful, amazing, and astoundingly understanding wife responded with, "Even when we're sure what is right, it's only human to hesitate when we know it's going to cost us dearly." Damn. Then, or that said, she and I are all good. After our discussion, I showed her the thread. She read comments for nearly an hour before we started talking again. Ultimately, we decided that we had to tell my friend's wife, who I will from here on out refer to as sister, so I don't keep having to say friend's wife. The reason we did this instead of an ultimatum is my wife was concerned he could use the time to cover his tracks or orchestrate her opinion against us. Neither of us really felt that would be in character for him, but we wouldn't have thought it in character for him to cheat either. My wife texted sister and asked if she would come over after work the next day. Sister works mostly evenings, so she usually gets off around 11. My wife had told her it was a serious conversation, so sister was pretty tense when she arrived at our house. We sat down and told her everything. After hearing it, she took a long breath and said, "I've known for a couple of weeks." Apparently, she had asked her boss if she could go home early one night a few weeks ago because she wasn't feeling well and found that he wasn't home. She texted him asking what he was up to, and he said he was at home watching TV. She tried to look up his location on their tracking app, but it was turned off. She left home and waited until when her shift would normally end to return. He was home when she got there, and when she asked how his evening was or if he did anything interesting, he told her he'd been home all evening watching TV and playing video games. She checked the app again, and sure enough, his location was turned back on. Sister said that until we told her, she didn't have any proof, but felt she knew what must have been happening. We asked her what she was planning to do now that she knew. Here's the part I didn't see coming. She plans to move forward with IVF. According to her, it's always been her lifelong dream to be a mother, and without IVF, it will never happen. IVF is expensive. She won't be able to afford it on her own, and she's afraid that if she leaves her husband, she'll never get another chance. Her current plan is to follow through with implantation and decide what will happen to her marriage afterward. She says they have a healthy embryo and she wants to give her child a chance, even if it means she could end up raising the child on her own. When I asked if there was any way she could see them reconciling when this is all over, she said it depended on him. In the end, she asked us to please keep it quiet and not tell him that she knows. We agreed and reassured her we'd be there for her if she needed anything. I called my friend the next day and told him that, while I still love him, I need space after learning what he did and that we wouldn't be seeing each other for a while. I still feel a lot of things. Relief from not bearing the secret, sorry for sister and what I fear she's going to have to go through, anger at my friend for destroying our family as it has been, if not destroying it entirely, and grief from what feels like the loss of a person who has been with me for my whole life. I hope for all three of their sakes they can work it out, but I know these chances are slim. This whole thing has been exhausting, and while I'm not sure exactly how to move forward from it, now I can at least try. Thank you all again for your help. I doubt I'll have any more updates. Relevant comments here. Comment, what did your friend say when you told him you didn't want to see him anymore? Original OP, mostly he just kept apologizing and said he was going to fix things. Well, let's hope he does someday. What do you think about the decision to keep moving forward, even though she knows? And again, I'm sure that this child can be perfectly happy, regardless of if they stay together or not. The friend says he's going to fix it. Let's hope he does. Let's hope he does the right thing and he comes clean about it and he starts his atonement. That's the best we could hope for, really. I understand. Yeah, I understand where she's coming from. But it would be interesting if he knew that she knew. Would he now oppose IVF? That's tough. It's a tough situation. I mean, you, OP, have done all that you've done all that you can do. You've at least unloaded your burden. I think a new one's going to creep back in. But you've at least told her, and that was the big thing coming out here. Being human sucks. It's not your bullshit, OP. You got your friend's bullshit to deal with. You got your friend and your other friend who's his wife, and now it's all embroiled in just a giant mess of spaghetti. Like, what do you do? What do you do?